Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we're here finally with the start of Season 4 of the F124 Driver Career Mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Of course, pre-season testing, that video went live a couple of days ago. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody for the support on that first episode. Of course, some of you were happy that we've stayed with Ferrari. Others of you were a little bit more upset by it. But ultimately, you know, I wanted to hopefully prove this season that the Ferrari second driver curse is not real. And maybe, just maybe, we can try and fight Charles Leclerc for the World Championship. Of course, if you're new around here as well, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. We're trying to hit 140,000 subs here at the moment. And yeah, we are ready to try and kickstart our all-new season, of course. We want to try and get redemption. We want to try and obviously beat our teammate to the world title this season. That being said, of course, you know, we're probably going to see tougher competition coming from, you know, the likes of Aston Martin, McLaren, and Red Bull as well. So, yeah, we'll wait and see as to how this season goes. Of course, again, a slightly tweaked calendar this season. Obviously, Miami now is gone, with obviously Portugal still remaining. So yeah, Kota is back once again. And if we take a look at the performance, Aston Martin apparently are going to be the team to beat as we head into the new season. Now, I was going to potentially sign with Haas. They then weren't interested in me, and maybe it was a good idea in the end because they've really dropped back down towards the rear of the standings as we head into the new season as well there. But yeah, lots of opportunities. We've set ourselves a target of trying to be 95 rated by the end of this campaign. But yeah, let's head out then to Bahrain ready for the first race of an all-new season. Can we finally try and become world champion? Well, longer-term viewers of the channel will know that, yeah, generally once we kind of get a few seasons into the games, I don't tend to feature as much from free practice and things like that, but I always like to come back here to Bahrain and do a little bit for the first round of the season. Car's definitely once again feeling a little bit sketchy here. Obviously, it is a new car. We have seen some new parts going on to it over the winter. But yeah, really struggling early on there. Of course, last season here, we struggled notoriously with rear brake locking. So I've really tried to tune the setup and make sure that isn't going to be an issue. But it seems to be this time round with normal, kind of more standard on-throttle oversteer. But of course, yeah, the big thing for us this season, you know, we're not coming into Charles Leclerc's team either this time round. You know, we are here right from the get-go. We know what we should expect from the car in the opening few races. And, you know, this year we cannot allow him to build up a bit of a lead early on in the championship. Not quite getting the purple score first time round. We just narrowly missed out. Well, hopefully second time is going to be the charm here. I feel like, yeah, we are very quickly getting back into the swing of things. Of course, the other weird thing, you know, it's been a week since I last played this game as well, which hasn't happened since F124 launched. That's going to be a purple score, though. I'm going to go sort everything else behind the scenes, and I think I will see you guys in qualifying.
Under the bright lights of Bahrain, it is time for qualifying. Grid position up in the air. Who is going to seize the moment?
Well, I've got to admit, I do always find it a little bit strange that Bahrain is now a night race, especially for the opening round of the season. You know, I quite like it at the end of a year. You know, Abu Dhabi, kind of the sun sets both in the evening and over Formula 1. Bahrain, it does still feel a little bit weird as the season opener, but yeah, we need to try and get a good first lap on the board. Of course, never really showed Q1, but we might see some surprises for the opening round of a new season. You know, plenty of shake-up with the grid. Aston Martin really do look like that pace is real. I tell you what, as first laps go, this one's been pretty terrible so far. Obviously, we have opted for the medium tyres, using the same strategy as I did last season. But yeah, forgetting to use a lot of battery in the first half of the lap, and we're not really finding anything through the second half either. We cannot afford to start the year way down the order as we make our way through the final corner. We're stayed P20 for now. Well, I was hoping the first round of the season wouldn't be this dramatic this early on. I mean, we've got 5 cars covered by just 1/10 of a second at the top of the order. We, though, are right down the other end, over a second away from our teammate here. We're going to head out for our second run on the set of the soft compound tyres. I mean, we're 8/10 away from the drop zone. So we need to try and find a lot of time, and we need to try and find it very quickly here. Well, the lap has slowly come to me as it has continued on. I mean, now, yeah, we are 1 second up. This has often been a happy hunting ground for the AI as well. Over 1 lap pacer as we just run a tiny bit wide up at the top of the hill. But I think, yeah, we should put ourselves into decent territory. Ollie Behrman having an absolute snooze fest of a session so far. All the way down in P19, but I'm hopefully about to relegate him to P20. Up towards the line, 1.2 seconds clear. That's a much better lap, but still we need a bit more. And there we go, Max Verstappen, 4 thousandths of a second clear of Lance Stroll, of all people. Somehow Tsunoda as well has got in that fight at the front. So it really has been a mixed up grid there through the first session. I mean, yeah, I was not expecting Yuki to be competitive as he is. Alex Albon as well, all the way up in P8. Whilst his teammate, admittedly, is only 8 tenths away from pole, he will line up last on the grid. He's joined by the Kick-Sauber of Fred Vesti, both V-Carbs and Esteban Ocon. There is no time between anyone. It might genuinely be difficult to see ourselves into Q2. Sorry, is Charles Leclerc there? A 10th off pole, P7. How ridiculous is that? Well, the pressure is on for absolutely everybody then. There is no guarantee that you're going to basically get yourself into Q3. One mistake on a lap will be the difference between you making it through and you not. So normally, I try and make sure I've got at least 2 sets of tyres for Q3. I probably can't afford to take that risk today, especially not if I do lines like that down at Turn 1. Really struggling with a lot of different aspects of the car early here. Leclerc clearly not doing that great either on the other side of the garage. I mean, he's inside that top 10 for now, but still not particularly great. As you can see through Sector 1, 2 tenths up on Hulkenberg. That is good, as we just have to correct a little snap of oversteer again. I'm still not quite sure how Sergio Perez held on to his F1 seat with Red Bull after last season. Was nowhere near his teammate, but clearly still Red Bull favouring stability or in a desperate need of cash. Can't really think of any other reasons here, as out of the final corner we're going to go. Gasly just on the ridge. We only go P13 again. Genuinely, we might not make Q3 here. That's how much we're struggling. Fernando Alonso and that Aston Martin team seem to be getting dialed in, though. The Aston Martin, yeah, 3 tenths clear of anybody so far in Q2. So he looks like he's, yeah, getting up to where we would expect him to be in that car. Can we do anything on our second run here? We need a good more, you know, sort of 3-4 more tenths of a second. Hopefully we'll find some of that down at Turn 1. A little bit more gentle, willing to roll off the brake a little bit earlier into that first corner, but we're still not really finding anything from it. We've kept a little bit of extra battery for the rest of the lap that'll hopefully come back to us. But like I said, I'm really not convinced that, you know, there's no guarantee we make Q3 here. Bearing in mind last season, I think apart from Miami, where we started at the back of the field, I don't think we ever didn't make Q3 over the course of last year's campaign. There is a little bit of under rotation down through the hairpin. Luckily, we'll get the power down off the exit of the corner. But, yeah, I mean, this is really, really difficult at the moment. It does feel like the car's on a knife edge. I really tried to tweak the setup and tune it to, you know, kind of give us pace. I'm hoping, if anything, it's going to suit us a little bit more in the race than it is here over 1 lap. But as we make our way up the hill, or drop the car off the exit curb, they're still trying to make sure, you know, we've got a little bit of battery ready for those final couple of corners. Are we going to be able to get this hooked up? Are we still going to see ourselves into Q3 here? As one more corner to try and navigate. The Delta is slowly moving in the right direction, but is it moving that way by enough? There is a little bit of understeer through that final corner. Luckily, we'll correct it pretty nicely. 1-2 tenths up. Is that Q3? No, it's not. It's P11. That is heartbreaking. And by the narrowest of margins in the end, Oscar Piastri, in his debut for Mercedes, he is only just going to make it into Q3 there. Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda, though, certainly the big surprise stars of qualifying so far. But we line up in 11th place on the grid, right in the thick of it. Leclerc's still only good enough for P6 right now. That has been an absolute shocker from Ferrari.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. Formula One returns to the desert today and this exceptional 3.36 mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities, and it could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix. let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Fernando Alonso completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Verstappen, Norris, Stroll, Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Tsunoda, Firestarter, Gasly, Perez, Joe, Hulkenberg, Sainz, Ocon, Ricciardo, Vesti, and Ollie Behrman. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And so we welcome you to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me for this race, and it's going to be some race, is Anthony Davidson. Well, welcome back after all the testing, the build-up. It all now comes down to this.
Everyone's G'd up for this one. They've done the testing, like you say. The drivers will be revving inside, heart rates going, trying to burst out their chest at this moment. With that anticipation, who's got the speed? We're going to learn now, once and for all.
Well, I do love those little attentions to details there. Obviously, Anthony Davidson no longer talking about whether anybody can beat Red Bull, because us down at Ferrari already achieved that last season there. So what are we going to be able to achieve here tonight? Tyre wear is incredibly high around the Bahrain International Circuit, and I think a 1 or a 2 stop strategy, it is going to be very, very difficult to decide there. I think we're going to stay on the 1 stop to begin with, just see how good the tyre wear is, and then if we have to, we can switch to a 2 stop, depending on how far we're able to get this first set of the mediums. But staying out of trouble, we are right in the thick of it. Lap 1 is going to be critical here. But we're ready then on the grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix. It is 5 red lights. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go there. Yuki Tsunoda not getting off to a particularly good getaway, but I've not done much better with it, as Albon tries to have a look around the outside of both Mercs down towards turn 1. And I'm just going to get a little bit pinched in there between Gasly and Sergio Perez. I know I've got a car on my inside, as Carlos Sainz going for a huge dive bomb. And I think maybe he's just giving himself a little bit of front wing damage there, so everybody trying to scrap away down at turn 1, sensing opportunity. Annoyingly for me, Charles Leclerc able to get the job done in the end on Saturday. And now immediately has set sail at the front of the field there, as round the outside of both Gasly and Carlos Sainz up the top of the hill. Yeah, that's been a really, really good start for Charles at the front of the field there, as I think that's the McLaren. Oh, hello, down the inside of a couple of drivers. Max Verstappen up into P2. So Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso in particular have had an absolute shocker of a start. Then he's all the way down to P4. So we'll have to take a look as to what happened to Fernando, but we are now up into the top 10 for the first time. But Charles Leclerc, I mean, this just looks like last season by him, walking away at the front of the field. Well, let's run on board then with Fernando Alonso, ready for the start of this Grand Prix. It's going to be 5 red lights. And the Aston Martin driver, lights out and away we go, initially responds quite well, but just has no hookup off the launch there, no drive whatsoever. Leclerc immediately down towards turn 1 is going to cover him off, and you can just see Alonso runs into the back of him. So does one of the McLaren cars there. It's chaos down at the first corner there as they go 4 wide through turn 1, and Alonso from second place on the grid all the way down to P5 there. Debris being kicked up by, I think, both him and George Russell off the start. Verstappen immediately is going to move his way up into P2, but Leclerc, I mean, look at that, completely free running at the front of the order. But already then, yeah, Verstappen and Leclerc seemingly want to try and continue on with the way they dominated last season. Unfortunately, the third spoke in kind of that dominant group is nowhere near there yet, and it looks like McLaren and Aston Martin really are tripping over each other and allowing the Red Bull and our teammate to get away. As down the inside of Alex Albon, we're going to go at turn 1. Oh, a bit of contact there, as I think Albon was expecting me to slow it down a little bit earlier.
Great manoeuvre, you made it look so easy.
It was admittedly quite aggressive, but we've hooked it up as what on earth is going on here? They're almost 4 wide, as Lance Stroll will watch on as Russell and Norris battle it out with his teammate. I think Alonso has made it back through. Nope, Lando's still there as we make our way down to the S's, and we've got to try and move through this group as soon as we can. Down the inside of Lewis Hamilton, of course, in this alternate universe, is still sticking it out with Mercedes, despite a lot less success than I'm sure he or the team would really want. So Alonso now moves up into P3. Piastri just almost running into the back of him. This is very nip and tuck early on. Here we go, Lance Stroll now trying to stretch the legs of that Aston Martin as well. Mercedes power units, basically every car I can see in front of us at the moment. as those two are going to really sit on that apex of the final corner. Of course, the only two driver moves, Oscar Piastri and George Russell.
9.2 seconds.
So very interesting, of course, that they're back near each other on the road, as we're going to try and have a look past both of them. Where on earth did Russell come from and all of that? Sorry, Piastri even. Back down at turn 1. I thought we might make a triple overtake. In the end, we ended up losing one. Back down towards turn 1. Here we go, this time round. Russell clearly struggling with battery usage. Down on the outside of the new McLaren driver. Are we going to be able to hook it up the long way around? Yes, we can, and making progress early on. But already, yeah, you just see as soon as a couple of cars battle, a huge gap forms. Well, Oscar Piastri, if he could just get past Lance Stroll here, we'd have 5 cars from 5 different teams inside the top 5, as just think there saw Verstappen make a small error on the minimap as well. Speaking of small errors, Alonso is going to do the same there. Looks like he's got front wing damage as well, so not too sure what's happened. Obviously must have been, I believe, on lap 1. But yeah, now, there we go, 5 cars from 5 different teams inside the top 5. Hopefully we're about to ruin that, though, if we can get past the Mercedes.
Nice work.
And yeah, very interesting to see, of course. First of all, George Russell, he's got nothing on those softs very early on in the night. So I think it's probably going to be better for him to pit pretty soon. Second of all, Oscar Piastri comfortably ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton. So far then, we've been able to put that bad qualifying effort behind us and get up into a pretty decent position early on in the race. Lance Stroll, he must have a nosebleed.
Falling away soon.
Running this high up, but yeah, I mean, are we just starting to see, you know, Aid getting the better of Fernando Alonso, or maybe Lance Stroll just getting a little bit better, or is just that car underneath them absolutely fantastic as well? I don't know, but yeah, Stroll currently trying to close in the gap on Lando Norris, and honestly, I think it's in my best interest just to sit behind him. The pace is looking really good in that car. He might be able to drag me up towards the McLaren, and it could still end up being your big 3 from last year make up the podium. Oh, here we go, Lance Stroll. 1 lap further on, he's applying more pressure to Lando Norris. He's got himself in that range. He's got himself to the outside of the McLaren. Is he going to get himself up into P3? Yes, he is. What a move that was by Lance Stroll then, up at the top of the hill. And the Canadian now up into P3 then of this Grand Prix. So having a really good time out of it so far this season. I mean, is this the Stroll that we saw throughout the first half of 2020? Just brutally consistent. Probably a little bit too early to judge. Well, the team have asked me if we can just wait until after Leclerc has pit before we make our stop here. I think they want to try and give him the optimal lap in. So here we go. Let's try and see if we can get a run on Lando Norris back down towards turn 1.
Okay, you're within 1 second of the car ahead. Get ready to use DRS for the overtake.
Both of us gaining in on the Canadian there, back down in towards that first braking zone. But yeah, McLaren have really struggled early on. Got ahead of those Aston Martins. Oh, sorry, Lando. Gave him a big squeeze on the exit, but it was only because I had too much oversteer. But yeah, we absolutely slammed the door shut on the McLaren, as he's now going to be left to battle with his former teammate. But yeah, the team want Leclerc to box first there, give him the ideal lap. So we might have to extend this first stint of mediums just a bit further. And there we go, Charles Leclerc, first one to blink. Into the pit lane comes our teammate. So at least we'll get to box the end on the next lap if I want it. As you can see, there we go, Stroll as well into the pits. So that's very, very early to be taking a set of tyres to the end. But that's exactly what he's going to do. His team want me in the end of this one. So we've got to try and keep Lando Norris at bay. Verstappen now, though, with an 8-second lead. Can we try and close that down in the second half of the afternoon? Well, tyre wear warning light just flashing up then as we come towards the end of lap 11. As Max Verstappen then peels into the pit lane here. Ferrari's tyre wear certainly, I think, has been higher than any of us would have wanted so far tonight. This is going to be a battle of the pit lane then between ourselves and Lando Norris here, as the Dutchman, I think, has had a bit of a slow stop. Yes, he has! Max Verstappen, a terrible pit stop by Red Bull then. There he is, finally getting going.
Go, go! That was a fantastic
We're not going to
stop.
get held up as
Faster than we were
badly.
expecting.
So Leclerc then, yeah, gets a really, really big jump on the Dutchman, despite the fact he might struggle on his tyres towards the end of the afternoon. Here comes Lance Stroll in that Aston Martin, and he might be able to P2.
The race on this compound.
As Piastri's got the undercut on me then, so yeah, the 1 lap earlier definitely has worked for people. But Esteban Ocon knew fastest lap of the day. That wasn't one I was expected to say tonight. But yeah, I mean, surely everybody, though, towards the end, tyres are going to be destroyed. Well, as we close in on half distance here, this is going to have to be one of those races where patience is key.
Hit that target. Really good job.
and hopefully it'll come to us towards the end of the afternoon. Lando Norris now has got in my range as Lance Stroll versus Max Verstappen. That was never a battle I thought I would talk about inside F124, but that's what's happening here at the moment. I think at this stage of the afternoon, Lando Norris has just got the pace over me here, and I'm not really sure it's worth fighting him over it. He might be able to drag me along and maybe bring us closer to his former teammate in Oscar Piastri. I'm also worried about how much Lewis Hamilton might gain.
Stay on form.
As I think that time round, Stroll again not able to make the move work on the Dutchman. Oh, hang on to it. Don't do a Nikita Mazepin. That's a bit of a throwback, isn't it? Oh, we've got yellows. We've got yellows. Someone's got issues. It's Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is slowing down here, and he might be out of the Grand Prix. Yes, he is. The Dutchman becomes our first casualty of the new season. And well, that means Lance Stroll's under a lot less pressure at the front of the order as well than in P2. But Max Verstappen, your first retirement at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Red Bull having an absolute disaster. Oh, I think Lando Norris has got issues as well. Norris suddenly just dropping back towards our clutches as well. We've taken about a second out of him on this lap so far. So are we seeing more reliability gremlins for other drivers creeping up? I mean, yeah, normally the hard compounded tyre is where we were always strong last season in this car. At the moment, it feels absolutely dreadful and we just seem to be going backwards. At this stage of the afternoon, we haven't quite got inside the range of Lando. And I think, again, just like we saw with Norris a minute ago, Hamilton, goodbye, sir. He's just got the pace over us, and from a Ferrari car last year that had the legs on everything in a straight line, we are really struggling tonight. Oh, we got another one. We got another one gone. This time around, I think it's just a spinner. Is that the Alpine of Sonoda?
3/10 a lap. Well done.
I mean, I'm staggered. We haven't seen a safety car or something for that. He's going to get back on the road. But yeah, Alpine at the rear of the field going round. He's not going anywhere. How is this not a red flag? That Alpine is stuck on the outside of the road there. I think he's finally got his way back on. Here we go, Hamilton then up against Lando Norris. McLaren versus Mercedes. As we set a new fastest final sector of the Grand Prix. Hamilton will look left, he'll look right. It's the battle of the Brits back down towards turn 1. And they got another Brit watching on. These two continue to squabble. Hamilton, though, round the outside. Experience gets the better of youth this time round. And Hamilton, yeah, is having a really good recovery drive now to P4. And I do think Lando Norris took too much out of those tyres too early on into the second stint there. And that will explain why he's struggling so much here. As we start lap 20 of 29, he's still going to get the run on Hamilton, who's going to try and swing defensive there. Can we have a look around the outside of the pair of them? Down at the first corner. I mean, we've got three Brits all battling it out.
Good work. Great pass.
It's the one in the middle almost again bins it. Lando Norris are going to come back at me as we make our way up the hill.
Some ERS, so let's try and charge it up now.
Why on earth in the middle of a battle, Mark, is that what you're worried about? Well, Mark warning me that we need to look after the tyres, but ultimately I think that's why we're doing so well now and starting to make a bit of an impact again in this GP. We looked after the hard tyres. We gave them a bit more time to work themselves in at the start of the stint, and although we lost a few places because of it, now we are really leaning on a lot of other cars again. The gap to Piastri is coming down. I think it might be as well, yeah, to Stroll and Leclerc here. So I'm not saying the win's on the board or anything like that, but we are just starting to get our fighting spirit back again. And this time round, hopefully we're going to be able to get moved on Lewis Hamilton back down in towards turn 1. Once more, the Ferrari straight line speed. Clearly, it's not quite what it was last year. Barely able to pull alongside the Mercedes back down in towards that first corner. And we'll chuck it way too deep into the apex as well. Hamilton will give me a big old squeeze. We will return in kind as we make our way up the hill. I believe neither of us have ended up with a DRS. No, Lewis definitely has, looking at that. So, oh, big lock of the rear again. They're still struggling with the balance of the car, but he'll give me the room again. Up the top of the hill there. Will we be able to make it through? Yes, we have. Back up into P4 of this Grand Prix. Let's go get ourselves a podium. Well, I've got to admit, this car is utterly bizarre so far tonight. You get a couple of laps where it feels absolutely incredible, and then a couple of laps where it feels absolutely terrible again. Once I got past Lewis, I was like, great. Let's go after Oscar Piastri here and try and deny him a debut podium with Mercedes. Looks like Hamilton might be able to help his teammate out, though, as you can see again. The Merc able to get the run on me back down towards turn 1. Once again, he's got the legs down in towards the braking zone. So I think this is probably where our battle's going to be. towards the end of the afternoon. Can we try and put the power down to get another run back up the hill? Hamilton's going to go defensive on us. We'll try and have a look around the outside. A long way around once more, but it's worked for me in the past. Will it work again there as we try and utilise some of the curbing? This time around, we're still side by side. Lewis doesn't want to back out if it has to in the end. And once more, we hang on. But all this is doing is giving Stroll, Piastri and Leclerc an even bigger lead at the front. Well, Hamilton again, I think, is going to get the run on me back in towards that first corner. 5 laps to go. But I just think Lando Norris now is biding his time, waiting for a chance towards the end of the afternoon as well. Maybe doing what I did earlier on. No! Lewis just parks it on the apex through turn 1.
The damage, and we think we should be okay to continue. It's going to cost us a little bit of time, but we're nearly at the end of the race.
Oh, that's really not what we needed as well then, so we're going to have to deal with even more understeer towards the end of the race there, and Hamilton just parked it on that turn 1 apex. You know, ultimately it's up to me to not run into the back of him, but I thought he'd be a bit quicker than that. Well, I kind of wish we'd seen at least one of the front runners really try to, you know, go for that 2-stop strategy and kind of force other people into making a decision, because it kind of feels like everyone has just suffered through a 1-stop race tonight. Leclerc, though, now 3 laps from home.
So we're trailing the car ahead by 2.3 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think that gap to the car in front's going to come down much more, especially with this damage. We're more interested in the car behind us. Oh, it is going to come down as soon as I say that. Lewis Hamilton goes for a spin down at the first corner, and, well, immediately we're back battling for P4. But how on earth has Hamilton done that then? Too late on in the day for a red flag, so we'll get away with it. And I mean, we'll claim the freebie. And just as I was talking about Lewis Hamilton then, I've absolutely given him the commentator's curse as he makes his way down in towards turn 1. The Mercedes man just tips it in. A bit too much throttle there. He's going to luckily reverse out of the way. Otherwise, I think I might have ran into him. But Hamilton now, just like we saw with Alonso early on, making mistakes here. And that has really cost Formula 1's 2 most experienced drivers. Well, as Charles Leclerc then rounds the final corner to start the last lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix, there's definitely a little bit of deja vu. For him, it's going to be back-to-back wins here. For Aston Martin, it is going to be back-to-back second places. For me, sadly, it's not going to be a podium. It is going to be a back-to-back last lap scrap with a McLaren car here. Lando's definitely got some kind of issue with that thing. It is not as quick as it should be right now. And as we round the final corner then to start the last lap ourselves, who is going to walk away with P4? Let's see what we can do back down towards turn 1. You can see Lando's going to have to go defensive. We'll try and go late on the brakes though, round the outside, almost banging wheels down towards turn 1, but we'll get away with it.
Car behind us, keep pushing.
Make sure we give each other fair racing room up towards the top of the hill. Once again, we've tried to go around the outside before today. Are we going to be able to make it happen this time around there? As you can just see, getting right up to the white line, but round the outside we'll go. And back up at a P4 then late on in the afternoon. So yeah, definitely. I mean, that McLaren on the inside of that corner with no front wing damage, that should be an easy position to keep hold of for Lando Norris there. So they've definitely got to go back to the drawing board and work out just what's went wrong with that car. I mean, it's gone better race than George Russell, who's ended up on a 2 or a 3 stop. I mean, he's basically down in last place there alongside Sergio Perez, so it really does feel like the entire field is converging in on each other in terms of performance. That can't be said for the performance Leclerc's had tonight, though. Once again, he has dominated here in Bahrain, and our teammate kicks off his championship defence in the way he wants to go on. Lance Stroll, what a breakout result that's going to be for him up in P2 as well there. And Oscar Piastri, first race for Mercedes. It's going to be a first podium for Mercedes as well. Through the final corner, we do one step worse than we managed to achieve here last season. It is P4 in the end. We've got a lot of work to do.
What a performance! He's left the field behind. Charles Leclerc wins it.
It's always great to kick off the season with a race victory. You hit the ground running, and it's really good for your confidence as well moving forward. It's so important to set off on the right footing, and that's exactly what they've been able to achieve today.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit, familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
Well, there we go. Charles Leclerc, pole position, race victory, 25 points on the board. Simple as that for our teammate there, and what a drive it was. Absolutely no competition coming from anybody, pretty much from lap 1. In fact, so much so, I kind of hoped he'd started the race on a set of soft compound tyres and have to 2-stop. Wasn't the case, and 10 seconds clear of Lance Stroll come the checkered flag. What a start to the year for him. Oscar Piastri P3, a very good race in his Mercedes. They're ahead of myself and Lando Norris. Alex Albon pipped Alonso to P6 at the checkered flag. I'm sure the Spaniard will be wondering what could have been in the opening round of the year there. Just the same could be said for Hamilton, with Pierre Gasly in 9th and Zhou Guanyu. I did not notice that. Sauber, they scored no points last year. They were the only team and the only drivers unable to score. Immediately, Zhou Guanyu emulating his result from the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix. He will pick up a point there, ahead of both V-Carbs and Esteban Ocon as well. Hulkenberg in P14, ahead of Behrman and Vesti there, with Russell Perez having absolute disasters on their one-stop strategies. Tsunoda as well with that issue early on, and Verstappen the only driver who failed to see the checkered flag. Of course, that means Drivers' Championship, exactly the same as the race results, but Ferrari don't want to relinquish their lead at the last season's world titles as well there. Aston Martin in P2 ahead of Mercedes there, with McLaren, Williams and Haas all with points on the board. Red Bull last, V-Carb 8th there, and Alpine, I guess that's a bit of not much of a surprise, down in P9. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We're going to be back tomorrow after qualifying for the real-life Dutch Grand Prix with round 2 of the year from Jeddah. You guys do not want to miss it.